Hey parents, today I want to go back in time a little bit and share with you 3 things that I wish I would have known about ear infections when I was a younger parent. We have 4 boys now, but when we had our first, Micah, he really struggled with ear infections. And to me, it was a major mystery. Was it truly an ear infection? Did he need antibiotics? How much pain was he in? How do we go about handling this? And it was just such a mystery to me that looking back, these were really 3 of the things that I wish I knew that I want to share with you today. And we've had the opportunity over the years just to talk to parents about this so regularly that these are probably the most asked questions when it comes to ear infections. Firstly, ear pain and discomfort for kids doesn't automatically mean there's an infection. This was hard for me as a parent because I remember when my kiddos would struggle, we'd go to the pediatrician, they'd check his ear and they'd say, yep, looks like an infection. Now, that's not necessarily untrue, but just because they're in pain, they're pulling at the ear, things are happening, it doesn't mean it's gotten all the way to an infection yet. A lot of times when pain or discomfort starts, it's simply because there's fluid clogged, or it's simply because there's air clogged, and that's actually causing the pain. There's very little space in kids' ear canals, and so just a little bit of congestion, just a little bit of a pressure change can all make a huge impact right here and cause a baby to start pulling or tugging on his ears and really seem like an ear infection. So just because you have that pain or discomfort doesn't necessarily mean it's an infection. It takes a little bit of time to be infected, right? It takes that fluid to sit for a little bit to accumulate bacteria or viral or viral germs to really help it turn into an infection. So I wish I would have known that first, because then I wouldn't have maybe went to the doctor as fast. I maybe wouldn't have felt like I needed an intervention as fast. So it's just good to know to really sometimes look closely at, okay, what is that pain coming from? Secondly, antibiotics aren't actually recommended as the initial treatment. The American Academy of Pediatrics, it's a mouthful to get out, actually recommended waiting 2 to 3 days after the initial look-in from a doctor in the majority of cases, simply because oftentimes ear infections aren't always bacterial. A lot of times they're viral. A lot of times swelling can look a lot like an infection, but maybe not be an infection. And you don't want to jump to antibiotics that can harm the gut, that can really take a toll on digestion and the overall immune system if it's not truly a bacterial ear infection. So oftentimes when you go to a practitioner, it's very, very normal for them to say, hey, let's wait 2 to 3 days and see how this plays out, to see if maybe they get a fever, to see if this doesn't get better, to see if it doesn't improve on its own. Which leads me to the third point today. There are many natural alternatives that work wonders. So if you're going to a doctor and you feel like, okay, there's nothing I can do, I don't know if it's an infection yet, I've got to wait a few days on it, there's many natural options that you can turn to that help ears drain, help get the fluid out, and even help fight infection. One of the first things that I love to talk about is pediatric chiropractic care. Being a chiropractor myself, this is what helped my son. This is what helps numerous kiddos that come into our practice for really 2 main reasons. One is chiropractic care helps the drainage of the eustachian tube. And I want to show you this real quick as I switch screens here, is where that eustachian tube is drainage-wise is right up here around the C1 or C2. If that's not draining, everything above it is going to get stuck. That's going to get stuck in the ENT system, ear, nose, and throat, and it's going to cause that inner or middle ear to have an ear or sinus infection because bacteria that get stuck stay stuck. So this is where chiropractic care can come in and help so much with that ear infection and with that drainage. Secondly, one of the things that we always talk about is, the naturopathic ear drops. Having an ear clear oil or something that you can put in to loosen up the wax, loosen up the mucus, help, fight some of those external things in the canal. So talk to your provider about that. A warm compress can help so well, just to help that pressure, that fluid start to move if it's congested. Movement and massage can help back here. That's going to be a huge help. And even when we get into things like ginger, garlic, salt water, there's so many other natural treatments that can help, where if you're connected to a pediatric chiropractor or a nurse practitioner that's like-minded. They can give you a lot of good things to go to help with ear infections before you have to turn to antibiotics or something else. Ear infections were a mystery. If they still are, we want to talk more. Every kiddo is a little bit unique, but I hope these three really just kind of keys find you well to help you navigate through this unknown area that has become all too common for our kids, especially when they get stuck in that cycle. If you have more questions, we would love to expand upon this. The most important thing is get connected to the right practitioner, to the right provider, to the right pediatric chiropractor, because they're going to help you through it to answer all those unique questions for you and your child. Hope this finds you well. Take care.